Hello and welcome to a new Pandora FMS workshop. This time we are going to see how the new alert server works, the parameters it includes in the configuration, and a couple of considerations to take into account in its operation. The alert server is a new role that can be enabled in the Pandora server component to make it take care of the execution of all the alerts that are configured in the monitoring system. If this alert server is not used, as we were until today, each server, for example, at server, network server, etc., will be responsible of executing its own alerts. That server will be the responsible of running all the data server module alerts that are fired, and network server for all ICMP or TCP or SNMP checks that we have in our environment, not for every server. And that can cause delays in monitoring if we have an alert or a group of alerts that takes longer than normal to execute. For example, it is especially common in cases of integration, such as integration with a ticketing tool. Something like an API call to create a ticket or run several checks that take some seconds, for example 10 seconds or 15 seconds. That's something that doesn't affect our monitoring usually, because it's something that don't happens frequently. But in the case that too many alerts are fired, and those alerts are this kind of alerts that take longer, it can pass of a delay, for example, of 15 seconds if it's only one alert, to delay, for example, in 20 alerts, 5 minutes or monitoring. So, and it's not a really big number, 20 alerts. So this can be very, very critical in, especially in big environments, not for medium or small environments that are not too many alerts, but in big environments with too many alerts that are more frequently fired, this can be a problem. So this is why this alert server has been developed, because it aims to avoid these delays in the monitoring, since when the rest of server will be running the monitoring, they will queue their alerts in a table in the database and won't run the commands itself, and the alert server will process that queue, reading for the table, and execute the alerts. So in this way, the monitoring servers are free to take care of collecting the data and are not affected by the delay in the specific alert commands that they may produce. So let me show you how it works. Well, first of all, it's important to know that these alerts are only run by a master server. If we have the alert server enabled, it means that if in our list we have more than one alert server, in this case I only have this Pandora FMS server, they won't run the alerts in parallel, so only the master server will run all the alerts queued. But we can configure this alert server with several threads, as we do in several of our servers, so we can have parallel executions for the alerts. So I have two alerts here configured, one for a test module A and a test module B. I'm going to validate both alerts and force their trigger, and I'll show you in the terminal how both alerts are queued by this command. You can, well, let's do it again. Let's wait to clear the queue, and you will see how they appear here, and I will force again. Okay, so now my queue is empty, my alert queue is empty. I'm going to validate my alerts again. So as soon as I force my modules here, both alerts get queued here in the table. The alert server read this table and execute them. As soon as it finishes with one execution, then it continues with the next, and when it finishes with both executions, I don't have more alerts to be fired. Oh, it's a simple behavior. and let's see the parameters we can enable here to make it work, and how to configure several threads, etc. In the Pandora server configuration file, as we do usual, we will find some alert server parameters. The most important, the alert server with the value of 1 to enable it or 0 to disable it. By default, it's with a 0 value, it's disabled, so we need to set it to 1. The alert server threads is frequently used in other servers to specify how many threads we want in our alert server. This is something that we can see in the servers view too. Here in the threads queued column, here are the number of threads that are enabled for this server. In my case I set only one thread because of the behavior I showed you about the first alert being executed and removed from the table, and the second alert being executed and removed from the table. If I have more than one thread, then both alerts are executed in parallel, and they disappear at the same time. And this third parameter that is very useful is the alert server warning, alert server warn. It's a time in seconds that we want the alert server to generate an event in Pandora to notify if it's delaying in the alert's execution. It means since the alert gets queued until it's fired, effectively fired, if it's more than 15 seconds in my case to force this situation, this will generate an event in Pandora, an event like this one, that will say that alert execution delay has exceeded the number of seconds that we have configured. These events will be only generated once per hour, one time every each hour, so it won't be generated for every alert that is delayed because it could generate too many events. And it's very useful if we complement it with the alert timeout, the global alert timeout parameter, that it's one that we already have. This parameter is for the timeout in seconds for every alert command that will be run. So if we have alerts that take more than usual but doesn't exceed the alert timeout but exceed the alert server warn, it will generate an event here. We will be notified, but we'll be sure that no events, no commands, sorry, will be queued forever in the execution in the server, and it will free my alert server threads. And that's all we have to show about the alert server. Considering how it works, although it's not mandatory to enable the alert server, but it can be recommended for environments with many alerts that are executed frequently and that have commands such as integrations that take a little longer to execute. A new simple feature that can help us to improve our performance. And that's it for today's video. If you like it, you can support the channel by giving a like, sharing it with other Pandora users, and remember to subscribe. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video. Bye.